Good morning, Earthlings, or afternoon or evening, wherever you are on planet Earth. I am HelloGreedo, and I'm going to be here with you guys for probably about 30 minutes to an hour. It's not going to be a very long one this morning. Got a lot to do. We're surprising our daughter with a fun Disney World trip in a couple days. And my daughter doesn't know anything about it. We just, about a month ago, we decided to get season passes, got a hotel for a couple days from now, and it's been, we've known about it, me and my wife, but my daughter has no idea. We've been asking her questions like, what's your favorite ride? She hasn't been there in about a year, so she how like 4-year-olds' minds and memories are. She doesn't really remember a lot of it. She remembers big things, but, So we've been asking, like, what's your favorite ride? Just kind of trying to get a game plan right when we get there. So we're really excited. We're going to tell her, we're like, the car's going to be packed, and we're going to tell her that we need to go to the grocery store or something like that in the morning. We're going to get in the car, and we're going to be driving. And I'm curious how long it's going to take for her to go like, guys, it's been like 40 minutes. We should have been to the grocery store 30 minutes ago. What are we doing? And then we're going to tell her. So it'll be fun. I'm really excited to see her reaction. I'm expecting it to be like, holy shit, like, oh my god, but watch her just like be like, okay. Anyway, welcome guys. I'm sure the latest episode of Andor is going to come up. There might be some subtle spoilers here and there. So yeah, maybe steer clear if you haven't seen it, or just don't read the chat. I'll do my best to not really spoil anything monumental, But anyway, welcome guys. How's everybody doing? To me, Andor is hands down by far the best Star Wars TV show. I'm sure a lot of people will debate the Clone Wars and stuff like that. I'll say it's the best live action TV show that we've gotten. I like it better than Mando, actually. It's so well done, so well shot. The dialogue is great. The tension is fantastic. The tone is spot on. I love it. It's mind blowing that we've gotten something so good and polished, and I don't know, it just feels different than the other live action shows that we've gotten. It feels more cinematic. It feels better done. I don't know. Would you guys agree? I don't know. Anyway, Mimi, thank you so much for the first super chat and channel support of the stream. I greatly appreciate that. Mimi says, The Last Jedi and Mando Season 1, both were refreshing takes on Star Wars that didn't rely on nostalgia in cheap ways. TLJ is gorgeously shot as well. I'm right there with you, Mimi. I think my favorite things, my two favorite... I kind of ping-pong between favorites, but right now my favorites are The Last Jedi, and when it comes to the movies that they've made, Andor is right now my favorite Star Wars TV show. My favorite. You can't even call it. What do you call it? A TV show? It's not on TV. My favorite live action show. My favorite show. What do you call it nowadays? It's not like it's on NBC or the Disney Channel. It's on a streaming service on the internet. Which I was thinking about that last night. We were like we have Hulu Live, and we were just kind of scrolling through Hulu Live, like live TV, which we never watch live TV. The only thing that my wife watches is the Food Network on live TV, and maybe like NBC in the morning for the Today Show or something like that, but that's it. And in my head I was like, I can't believe this is how it used to be. Like, kids, my daughter is never going to know a world where you have to watch whatever is on right now in this dumb TV guide. You know what I mean? Everything is always going to be at her fingertips. She can watch anything. It's weird to like, this is off topic, Mimi, so forgive me, but it's weird for me. My generation, I feel like, was really the last generation that was born before this huge tech revolution, before the internet came to fruition, before we had all these options. and like we were born before it, and then we grew up, like we got our first computer in, I don't know, like 94, 95, 93, around there. But I would have been like 7, maybe something like 7 or 8. That's when we got our first computer, had the internet, played Duke Nukem, and Diablo and all that stuff on the internet. Search for things I probably shouldn't have at that age, not knowing really how to delete my browser history. But you know, now this generation is just born into it. It's really interesting that my generation kind of experienced a world without all of this for a while, and now we're in it. But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting to think about. Where's it gonna go from here, ladies and gentlemen? But yeah, Mimi, I'm with you. TLJ is my favorite movie of theirs. Mando season 1 is fantastic. I like it better than the second season because, as you said, it didn't rely on and lean on familiar faces, familiar stories, familiar, you know, even Mandalorian lore and stuff like that. I thought Mando season 1 as its own self-contained thing, with the new factor of it, was just light years, in my opinion, better than the second. As much as I enjoyed the second season, the first season, it was just such a fun, unique, and new thing, you know. But yeah, anyway, Mimi, I appreciate the hell out of that channel support this morning, man. And Caretaker wanted, thank you so much as well. Caretaker says, Andor continues to amaze me. Me as well. Everything about the show, the different perspectives, the different tones, the different parties involved, the way it's shot, the cinematography, the pacing of it, the dialogue. It's a Star Wars show, but it feels it almost like elevates Star what a Star Wars show can be. In my opinion, it takes the medium and smashes it through the roof and says, here, we can do something a little more, maybe mature isn't the right word, but a little more thought-provoking, a little more cinematic. And I'm with you, Caretaker. I love it. I mean, everything from the dialogue to the way it's shot, to the characters, to the backstabbing, to the perspectives of the Empire, the fight that these characters are in. This, I think, this has already become my favorite Star Wars live action show, and the first season isn't even done. Right? It's not done. This was the 6th episode. How many episodes are there going to be? Let me Google this. I don't know. Andor, let's just see. Has that been announced? Oh, wait, hold on. Oh, so there's going to be 12. According to Wikipedia, there's going to be 12 episodes. For those of you who are like me and are not aware. So there's going to be 12. We're at the halfway mark. Hell yeah, man. But anyway, I appreciate that, Caretaker. And Oscar Rodriguez, good to see you, man. Oscar, thank you so much for the channel support. Oscar says, just off the plane, but I did watch a few episodes of Andor before takeoff. It's basically Jason Bourne. I liked it, but I have to hold off on it. You're going to wait till more episodes come out, or just out of just because of life, you won't be able to continue it for a while. Either way, I feel you. But yeah, you're right. The feeling of Jason Bourne, the feeling... I get Game of Thrones vibes from a lot of these episodes as well. Maybe that's just because you see a lot of the parties involved. You hear their dialogue, their justifications, their motivations. It's very dialogue heavy, which I love. Maybe that's why I get these Game of Thrones vibes. And then you have these moments of massive conflict and action and stuff like that tied into it. It's really well paced, but yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. Oscar. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you had a good plane flight. I am not a fan of flying. I don't know why. I used to really, I think, okay, so I enjoy flying like when it's just me. Like if I'm going to visit my buddies, or if I'm flying to New York City for my buddy's bachelor party or something like that, I enjoy being in an airport by myself, in an airplane by myself, headphones in, book in hand, you know. I flew with my daughter and wife about a year ago, and I never get like this, and I'm never nervous on planes. Again, probably just because it's myself, and who gives a shit, right? It's just me. But like our first flight, I got on the plane and I looked at my daughter, and I was just so nervous. I don't know why. I got realistically, in terms of like, I don't know, statistics, I should be way more nervous of like my wife driving my daughter to school. You know what I mean? Her being on the highway in the back seat in a car seat, right? Statistically, that's where my fear should lie, not in an airplane. But I got so nervous. I was like shaking, man. It was weird. I've never had that experience before. Not to mention the first flight, we were flying up to Ohio for a wedding. We flew to Atlanta, had a connecting flight, but the first flight had such bad turbulence where we were, felt like we were free falling for like 2 seconds at a time. Just whoa, over and over again, for almost the entire flight to Atlanta. And I just thought, yeah, just, you know, if some of you guys have kids, maybe you've been there, but like, I don't know. Again, it was such a weird feeling because I've never felt that before. But anyway, enjoy it, Oscar. I hope you really like it. It's my favorite Star Wars show that's been released. I think it's hands down, everything about it is better than what's come before. But anyway, I appreciate that, man. Dylan, I watched it this morning, actually. I loved it. But yeah, we'll talk about it. Benjamin B, thank you so much for the channel support as well. Ben says, Andor gives me hope for the Acolyte. Being the High Republic opens so many doors. I'm hoping to see new serious threats like the Eldritch Dringer. Me too. So, Andor gives me more... Andor has given me hope for all future Star Wars projects. Andor, I cannot express how much I really appreciate this show on almost every single level. I mean, you talk about the dialogue, I'm going to be like, yeah, I love it. It's so intriguing. It's such an intriguing show. The perspectives that you get from various factions, various parties involved, it's fantastic. When the action is so well shot and kinetic, everything about the show just hits all the marks for me. It's like what I've been looking for a very long time. It's interesting, like, and I don't really know how to articulate this, but I think it's noticeable, and again, I don't know how to articulate this, but when you watch something like The Book of Boba Fett or Kenobi, and then you watch a show like Andor, the quality of production, the cinematography, the where it's shot, how it's shot, the detail involved, in my opinion, it just is light years better than those other shows that I just mentioned. So again, this show gives me hope that they're going, because a lot of past stuff has kind of felt repetitive, kind of feel like we're mulching over the same shit. Tonally, it's very similar to one another. But with this, with Andor, it gives me hope that they're going to attempt to do different tones, especially with the Acolyte. You know, there's, as you said, there's so many different doors they can go down. I hope they do something very different. And see that, you know, Star Wars doesn't just have to be Force and boom boom and flippy doos and lightsabers and, familiar faces and things that we're already familiar with. It can take some chances. It can take some risks. It can do different things. It can tell different stories and have different tones. But yeah. Anyway, Ben, I appreciate that, man. I have hope as well. What's up, Mr. Luke? Luke Fredericks. I actually installed, well, it's probably about a month ago now and I haven't fired it up, but I actually installed the Old Republic with the hope that I would have time to like stream it for a few hours here and there, and I still haven't fired it up. I say that some of you guys are probably not familiar with this, but years ago, I mean, how long has it been, Luke? It's been, first of all, it's good to see you, man. Yeah, I don't even know. Has it been 5 years? Maybe longer than that, but long time ago, I was streaming the Old Republic a lot, the MMO, and Luke actually created a guild for us, built an incredible guild house, which I doubt it's still up. I can understand why. You're a busy man. You don't have to put up with that shit when I'm not playing it. But we would have a bunch of people in this guild stronghold that he built. And it was awesome. We would just go out and do little missions here and there and bullshit in this stronghold. It was a good time. Oh, you think it was 3 to 4 years? I think my daughter is 3.5 years old, or not 3.5. She's 4.5 years old. So I don't think she was born when we were doing the Old Republic stuff. So I think it was probably 5+ years. Anyway. Luke, thank you again, man. Luke says, as a pilot, I will say that you don't have to worry too much about being rear-ended up there. Hope all is well, dude. Glad to catch a stream. May the force be with you. Luke also says, Andor is good because it has well-written nuance instead of trying to sound smart. There you go. It's honest, A+ production value in general for a good end product. Well said. I could not agree more. But yeah, Luke, you're right. Like, yeah, oh, one sec.
The Star Wars prequels, I love them and saw them in theaters. To me, they're a lot of fun. Yeah, they're not up there with the original trilogy, but of course they're not gonna be.
Clark, thank you so much, man. Give me one sec. Yeah, Luke, like, so how do I put this? Like, I should be way more terrified of, like I said, my daughter just driving in a car, right? Statistically, and especially I being a firefighter, you know, go to a lot of wrecks, go to a lot of things like that, and it gives you when you see that stuff so often, I don't know. I don't know why. It doesn't really make me... It should make me more nervous for the day-to-day, you know? But it doesn't. It should. Maybe I kind of separate it, the things that you see versus your personal life. I don't know. But statistically, yeah. Like, it's one of the... What? There was a movie that said it's still the safest way to travel. Still the safest way to travel. Still the safest way to travel. Movie quote. What movie is that? Statistically oh, there we go. It's Superman Returns. Statistically speaking, it's still the safest way to travel when he saves the plane. But yeah, you're right. Don't have to worry too much about that. Driving around, you gotta... Yeah, I knew you would know it. I knew you would know it. I knew you would know it, Luke. Yeah. Anyway. I appreciate that. And it is probably... Who said that? The DJ. It probably does have something to do with being out of control, for sure. And again, I've never been a nervous flyer. Ever in my life. I've always, when it's me or my wife or going to a place, I enjoy it. You know, I bring a book and listen to some lo-fi or some hammock or something like that. But the only time I've ever been nervous on a flight was with my daughter. And I think it is because there's nothing that I could do. Right? I mean, it was weird. There's a very weird sensation that I've never felt before. But that happens with everything when you have a kid. Not just flying. I mean, like giving her grapes. I've never been nervous to buy a bag of grapes. They're just fucking grapes. But when I give my daughter grapes, I'm like, in my head, I'm reviewing the Heimlich on a toddler. I'm going back to my EMT training. I guess that's everything. Last night, so my daughter, again, we're going a little off topic as we always do, but last night, man, my daughter, so lately she's been waking up in the middle of the night and she'll come into our bed. I mean, this happens 3 out of 4 days now. At 3 out of 4 nights. Last night, like at 9:30, she had been asleep for maybe 45 minutes. I look over at the baby monitor. We have a baby monitor just because she's upstairs and we're downstairs. But I look over and she's sitting in the middle of her room, out of bed, sitting in the middle of her room, and I'm looking at her for a few seconds, and then she starts to cry. So we run up there, see what the deal is, and she was like when I walked in, she was like looking through me, if that makes sense. We think she was sleepwalking, because my wife had a history of that when she was her age. We think she was sleepwalking because she was like just kind of staring through me. And when she did kind of gain her surroundings, I was asking her, who am I? Well, who am I? And it took a couple seconds. Dada? And then, who is that? Mama? What's your name? And, it took her a few seconds to kind of gain her surroundings. But it was really, I don't know, my wife freaks out about that kind of stuff. But, yeah, cool, calm, and collected, you gotta be. And again, it was nothing. We think she was just having like a night terror, sleepwalking, confused as fuck, But if anybody out there has kids, you know the feeling. But yeah, anyway. Luke, cheers, man. I hope you're doing well. Mr. Maverick. And Clark Herman and Oscar Rodriguez, thank you guys so much. Clark says, people either love or hate the Star Wars prequels. I love them and saw them in theaters. To me, they're a lot of fun. Yeah, they're not out there with the original trilogy, but of course, they're not gonna be. I'm pretty apathetic towards the prequels. I saw all of them in the theater as well. I was 13 when The Phantom Menace came out. And I have a lot of nostalgia for that time period. Like being 13, the build up to, the new Star Wars movies. Holy hell, we're getting new Star Wars movies, And that build up was just so fun and intense. But I've never been a big fan of the movies. My favorite one is The Phantom Menace, and I think it's just because of that build-up, that nostalgia for that time period. I honestly, I don't hate them. I've never said that I hate them. They were always disappointing to me. They were always, I never had a desire to watch them again. They just kind of existed. When I see like the Star Wars prequels and then I see something like Andor, the quality, the difference between those two productions, I don't even think it's a competition. Once again, in my opinion, we're all different, So, if you disagree, cool. We can shake hands and be friends. There's a lot of other more important shit in the world than to be up in arms about somebody else's Star Wars opinion, right? But I have a lot of nostalgia for that time period of the prequels. One of my favorite movie-going experiences ever was when I saw Revenge of the Sith at midnight, opening night. I went with a few friends of mine. I dressed up as Greedo, hence why I had a Greedo mask when this channel first started. And my buddy dressed up as Han. Some of you guys have heard this. You've probably even seen the picture in my book that I wrote. But yeah, we dressed up. We went to the midnight premiere at midnight. We watched the movie. It was super exciting. We made blasters out of Nerf guns and plumbing parts. It was a really good time. So like, I have a lot of great memories of that era, the prequel era, and going to see those movies. But as movies, like I'd never have a desire to watch them. And again, if I was younger, maybe if I was like 2 years old when the Phantom Menace came out, and then I started watching Star Wars at like the age of 7, and all the prequels were already out, and like that was my Star Wars, that was my generation of Star Wars. I'm sure I would feel the same way as you, Clark, and a lot of other people. But you know, as we know, Star Wars is a generational thing. Typically, the one that you grew up with and watched the most is the Star Wars that you cling on to and you hope everything is like in the future, you know? But yeah, anyway. Cheers, man. I appreciate the hell out of that. Oscar Rodriguez, thank you so much for the super chat and channel support. I greatly appreciate that. Oscar says lots of French Connection. Sorry, guys. And Black Ops vibes throughout. I've actually never seen the French Connection. I've actually never seen that. I need to. 1971. Gene Hackman. Gene Hackman recently? No, he's still alive. Who am I thinking of? Is he still alive? Yeah, he's still alive. Okay. Yeah, I've never seen the French Connection. Let's see. The French Connection. New York detective Popeye Doyle and his partner chase a French heroin smuggler. Sounds like it'd be fun. Derek Malcolm says, apart from telling a pretty exciting story with great mechanical skill, Fred Friedkin examines the cop and his prey with a skeptic's eye. Miles Standish says, one of the most exciting and breathtaking chase films ever made. Alexander Walker says, if you want a dog-eared guidebook stuffed with authentic detail to the work of the New York Narcotics Squad, this is your film. It certainly is mine. Every element coalesces into a hard bunch of excitement you can't imagine better done. Interesting. All right, I'm going to have to eventually check this out. For real. Anyway, Oscar, I appreciate that, man. Caleb Diaz, thank you so much for the super chat and channel. Caleb says, definitely the High Republic. It ushers in a new era, new heroes, and amazing villains. Wish they were films. From comics to books, it's so well connected. You know, I have not gotten around to check out any High Republic stuff, unfortunately. Like, that's stupid, right? That's stupid that I haven't jumped into it, considering I'm the guy who always wants new, right? Give me new characters, new eras, new situations, new stories. That seems like something that would be right up my alley. But for me to sit down and read a Star Wars book, it takes a lot. I think I've read 5 Star Wars books since the let me think about it. Bloodline, which is my favorite. Last Shot, the Han Solo book. Thrawn, Ahsoka. I think I've only read 4 in this modern era of Star Wars. I need to get it. I own Master and Apprentice. I own Lost Stars. I haven't finished them. I haven't read them. But I have a hard time like getting up to reading a Star Wars book. I enjoy reading, other science fiction. I'm reading an Andy Weir book right now. It's fantastic. I love it. It's like one of my favorite books of all time, and I'm only like 75% done with it according to my Kindle. But when I finish reading a Star Wars book, I have to take a Star Wars break. Like I'm the kind of person who can't read the same type of stuff back to back to back. So like when I'm done with a Star Wars book, I really do. I need to take a break and read a couple things in between. But yeah, Caleb, I need to jump in. I definitely need to jump in. I also wish they were movies and shows and whatever, just because, yeah, for me to jump into a Star Wars book, I need some time, if that makes sense. And yeah, Caleb just said audiobooks too. Yeah, I own Last Stars on audiobook, and I feel like I've started and stopped that like 5 times since I've owned it. For whatever reason, like even with audiobooks, Star Wars audiobooks, I'll start them on like my commute or something like that, and then I'll just end up listening to podcasts. I don't know why. I enjoy reading Star Wars books, but when I'm done with one, again, I need a long break. I don't know why. I've always been that way. But anyway, cheers, Caleb. Eventually I'll get around to it for sure. If you ever see any of the High Republic books on sale, like on a Kindle on Amazon, let me know. That's how I read on Kindles. But anyway, Oscar Rodriguez, thank you so much for the channel support as well. Oscar says, it makes me sad that George Lucas never made more movies beyond Star Wars. Sure, he's better at conceptualizing than directing, but he never allowed himself to improve. Yeah, we'll never know like what other interesting and I mean, we had Red Tails, right? I never saw Red Tails, but we'll never know. Wait, did he direct that? Oh, he was a co-director. Okay. Yeah, we'll never know what other interesting and different kind of things he may have made, you know. He made Star Wars, and then it took on a life of its own. He became Star Wars, you know. I'm sure he had books. I mean, you know, there's no complaints, of course, but it would be interesting if he continued as a director in other capacities other than Star Wars. You know, just to see where else his brain would go. You know, American Graffiti is great. THX is fantastic. I used to watch that a lot as a kid. But then Star Wars came out, and that became everything. He became like the president, the emperor, the CEO, the whatever other, the general of this little world that blossomed into something so huge. He was the god of a universe, and that became him. And yeah, it's great, but it would have been really, really interesting to see what else he would have branched out and done beyond just Star Wars. And again, it took on a life of its own, and it needed that father figure to man the helm. It needed its captain, which he assumed the role, right? But yeah, it would have been really interesting to see what else was out there in George Lucas's bag of tools, you know, beyond Star Wars. But anyway, Oscar, I appreciate that, man. And Zio returns. Good to see you. Zio returns, says, I have returned after a very long time. Indeed, Mr. Zio, good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Zio has returns. Have you seen Strange Magic? He did that post after he sold Star Wars. No, no. Strange Magic. No, I never saw it. I forgot about that. He didn't direct that or anything, right? 18% on Rotten Tomatoes. Strange. 2015. What was his role in that? He didn't write it. He didn't produce it. He didn't direct it. Did it just come out under... Who made it? Disney. No, oh, he wrote it? Produced by Lucasfilm. Okay, so the film's screenplay, which was written by Rydstrom, David Barenbaum, and Irene Mecchi, from a story by George Lucas inspired by William Shakespeare. Okay, so the screenplay was written inspired by a story that George Lucas wrote. Interesting. Okay. Gotcha, Zio. No, I'm not familiar. Maybe that's the one that I'll watch with my daughter in the future. But anyway, welcome. The return of Zio. Cheers, man. Lego Star Wars fan 77. Good to see you. Lego says, my favorite Disney Star Wars project is Mandalorian. I'm sure a lot of people will agree with you there. I love The Mandalorian, as most people probably do. I as I've said ad nauseum, I prefer the first season of The Mandalorian to the second one. The second one's fun. It's great. But what I loved about the first season of The Mandalorian was how it stood on its own 2 feet and didn't rely on or introduce familiar characters, familiar situations, familiar lore, familiar stories, really. The first season really stood on its own 2 feet and was its own self-contained thing. That's why I love the first season so much. The second season, again, was great. Kind of strayed away from what I was hoping for in a second season. That's why I think Andor has kind of filled the spot of my favorite live-action Star Wars show, is because, as of right now, it's just everything about it. I love it. Everything. I don't know. But yeah, Mandalorian's great. I can't wait to see what's in store for season 3. I watched the trailer when it first came out, like a month ago? I don't really remember it, but I hope they don't go too deep into, like, I hope they don't go to Mandalore. I hope they don't do a lot of stuff with Bo-Katan. I hope they don't, like, really, really harp on, like, the heir to the throne and Mandalorian Civil War. I don't really want. We've had a lot of Mando lore. We've seen the planet. We've seen the conflict on Mandalore. Like, I don't think we need another show that really goes into that. To me, all that stuff isn't all that interesting. I want it to do its own thing, you know. But we shall see. We shall see. Anyway, I appreciate that, Mr. Lego Star Wars fan 77. I think we see eye to eye right there, Jamie. Jamie says, favorite Disney Star Wars project, Andor and The Last Jedi. Honorable mention goes to Solo. Andor and The Last Jedi are my 2 favorite as well, right now at least. Let's see. All right, what time? Oh, it's noon. It's noon. No, detail. No, I don't have any costume itches these days. You know, I have a full suit of screen-accurate Stormtrooper armor. I've had that for like 10 years now. I'm perfectly happy with just having that. You know, I mean, maybe in the distant future, if my daughter's interested in like joining the 501st or something like that, yeah, it'd be cool to maybe do a new costume with her. But as of right now, no, I haven't had an itch to build another costume really ever. Like, other than my Stormtrooper armor that I built a decade ago, you know. But yeah. Anyway, guys, I gotta go. That was about 50 minutes. Said it was going to be about 30 minutes. We went a little over. That's fun. So, what else? I don't know what I'm going to be doing in the next few weeks when it comes to the channel. I'm sure I'll have some streams here and there. Going on a fun Disney trip in a couple days that my daughter does not know about. Surprising her with it. It'll be fun. But, alright, everybody. What else is there to say? Nothing. Cool. Alright, so. Thanks to everybody who supported the channel through Super Chats. I cannot express my gratitude enough. To everybody who shot the shit in the chat, thanks for hanging out, man. Alright, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your morning, your afternoon, your evening. Wherever you are. On planet Earth. And I will catch you all on the flip side. See ya!